Hello and welcome to the Calmcast, a time to feel calm and think clearly. I'm Clare, the Queen of Calm, a transformational life coach. I was a burnt-out head teacher who finally made the journey to calm after years of trying, and I want to prevent you from having to do the same. The Calmcast is a series of short explorations, gently guiding you back to your natural state, which is calm and clarity. Just listen like you would listen to music, with an open mind and curiosity. There's nothing else to do. Now let's relax into today's episode. So, hello there. Creating the balance between business and relationships. I've been just thinking a little bit about this recently. And I have been reading a bit about it as well, because it's something that keeps coming up, the whole balance thing, like the work-life balance, the balance between our business and our relationships. And it can seem like a really complicated thing for many people, I think, and also a thing to do or a thing to achieve in some way, shape or form. But I kind of wanted to peel off the layers of that to see what's really underneath the whole thing. And I think what's underneath the whole thing, and when I read this the other day, I just thought, oh wow, that is it, isn't it? That it sounds like a battle, doesn't it? Like we've got to somehow pit our relationships against our business, and someone will come out on top, and that somehow that's the way to create balance between the two. But that just seems really complicated to me. And it also seems like we're creating a problem and then trying to solve it. And I think anywhere where we're doing that, we're just putting extra layers into the mix. And those of you that are watching me live at the moment will be able to see that I am in Trevor, who is a motorhome, not a camper van or a car, a motorhome, a big motorhome. And we're parked up, and that kind of light you can see through the window is the sea. It's just outside our window, and it's a lovely quiet spot, apart from the occasional beeper. People go back and past and beep. It's so funny. I find it quite amusing, really, that they usually beep long after I'm awake, I have to tell you, because if you've heard me speak before, you'll know sometimes sleep evades me early in the morning. But so we're away from home. In theory, Bruce and I are on holiday, but both of us are still doing a bit of work. So yesterday, I was on some live training that I really wanted to do, and it lasted a really lot longer than it was, about an hour. I think it was about 3 or 4 hours. So we sat and did that, and he did a bit of work, but we were just together. It was nice. And then we went for a walk in the afternoon, and it feels like it just sort of naturally balances itself out. And I think that is partly because we don't see it as something to do. We just see it as something that happens, really. It sorts itself out without us needing to necessarily interfere quite so much. Because the world of work-life balance, and I know there are lots of coaches who talk about this, and lots of people who will provide you with strategies in order to make it happen, in order to make balance happen between your work and your life, between your work and your relationships, between your business and your, whatever it is, that there are strategies that you can do to make that happen. But I just think the whole premise of it is a mistake, an illusion. because your work and your life are they're both part of your life, aren't they? They're just it's just your life. You just have a life, and you have different things you do within that life. And really, the word that I really liked when I read this piece the other day was integration. Everything is part of the same one, and in fact, perhaps this is just another duality that we've created, another separation. Work's over here, relationships are over there, balance is me in the middle trying to make them both work okay. And that's just another thing to do. And as I often say, I'm busy, and I suspect you are too. So what's the alternative, you might be wondering, than having a lot of rigidity and trying to make it all happen? Well, I think it's presence. Bet you couldn't have guessed I would have said that. I think if we're like yesterday, we both worked yesterday morning. Bruce is officially on holiday from his work, but he's got a lot on, and I can see that he could just do with getting on top of a few things. So I was cool with him working yesterday morning, and I, as I say, had something to do. But it got to about lunchtime. We had some lunch, and I was like, right, we need to go out now. I could feel my head was getting quiet. I'd been sat looking at a screen quite intensely for quite a long time, and I could feel that. And so I said to him, let's go out for a walk. So we went out for a walk. And then we came back and parked the van up somewhere new, or somewhere we keep coming back to this little spot. Actually, we found quite a nice spot here because despite the beepers, it's very quiet and peaceful. And then we chilled during the evening together, watched a bit of a funny new show we're watching. And I think when we're present with just what is right now, we can work it out, and it naturally comes. Like another thing to talk about in terms of an example of where it goes awry is, and this is so many of the people I work with, that there's a sense of trying to get ahead. That's so common. If I just get this done and this done and this done, then I'll have time for my relationships and the rest of my life. And that, so I'm quite like contemplative this morning. It's being big pauses, something with that, trying to find that balance occurs much more readily when we're present, when we're connected to what is right now, rather than it seeming like it's something to do. So as I was saying, with a lot of my clients, there's this sense of urgency. Urgency is something I often talk about. And I used to think urgency was telling me I needed to get some things done, and then I would be able to live the rest of my life. And I hear this so much from the people I work with, that, well, if I just get ahead, if I just get a little bit further ahead, then I'll have time to spend time with my family, take care of myself, etc., etc. And of course, what actually happens in anybody who's running a busy business is that day never comes. That day is an illusion. That day when you have time comes when your children are 25 and they've left home, and you suddenly go, ugh, heck, I haven't really spent as much time as I'd like with them. And there are consequences to that for them, and maybe for you, or obviously for you too.
But I hear this a lot. It's almost like the balance is out when we're putting off our life or the rest of our life. We're not integrating our business in our lives and in our relationships, but instead we're focusing very intently on that with the sense that, oh, later on we'll have time for our relationships once we've got through all this business running stuff. And that day never comes. So the relationships suffer because we're waiting to live our lives. Whereas when we're present, I just think, and it's not an illusion, this is what I see more and more as people become more deeply grounded in this conversation, this 3 principles inside out conversation, is that balance naturally occurs, that presence naturally occurs. And when the presence naturally occurs, the balance just comes, it just materializes, because, well, that we are naturally balanced, really, underneath all the I think we think that's something to do that's something to create by doing things in the outside world, but it isn't really. It's a natural state that we have all the time, as long as we are in the present moment. Like, if you really just sit with your body, it'll tell you when you're out of balance all the time. It really will. You will always know when you're out of balance if you listen to your body. And you'll also know whether your relationship and business are out of balance, with your relationship being if we're pitting them against each other, the losing side. You will know that because your relationship will begin to show that, not just physically in terms of how much time you're spending with the other people that you're in a relationship with, but just how that relationship is, how much ease there is in it, how much connection there is in it. When you're really present, those things are really obvious, I think, and they don't need a lot of analysis to be seen. And if we're looking towards integration rather than pitting relationships and business against each other to try and create balance, then that does naturally occur from a place of presence. Like I was saying, Bruce has got a lot of work on at the moment, so although we're away, I'm cool with him getting some work done, because I think he just has a lot to do at the moment, physically, in the world has a lot to do. So, and I can connect to him and see that that's helping him to feel better. And it's all fine. There's no story around what a holiday is supposed to look like as well. That's also quite cool to see. So I hope you found that helpful today. Maybe it's yet another thing where we're making up that it's got to look a certain way, or we're making up that it's a thing to do. Well, it's all that, isn't it? The stories are the thing. And let's look towards integrating our relationships and our business into our life, rather than pitting them against each other to try and create this thing called balance. Lots of love. Have a wonderful day with the people you're in a relationship with. Take care.
Thank you so much for listening. There's nothing to do now but bring some awareness to how this is working out in your life. Listen regularly to experience longer and longer periods of calm. This has been the Calmcast with Clare Downham, Queen of Calm. Take care and keep listening.